Welcome Roadmaster.
For over 60 years, the Ford Mustang has captured the hearts of enthusiasts. From the iconic 65 fastback to the modern dual-clutch transmission Shelby GT500. But while these legendary models have become household names, there's an entire world of Mustang concepts that flew under the radar. Designs so bold and so groundbreaking that they could have reshaped the Mustang legacy entirely if they had been built. And after all these years, it's about time we pull back the curtain and explore the 6 most insane Mustang concept cars that we never got. Number 1, the Mustang GTR. Unveiled in 2005 to coincide with the 40th anniversary celebration of the Mustang GTR concept was a vehicle aimed to harken back to the golden days of racing for the Ford Mustang. Sure, the Fox body Mustangs and SN95 cars did see racing success in different classes, but visually they were a radical departure from that original pure Mustang design. Ford was already planning on relaunching the 2005 Mustang GT with its retro styling, so why not build a retro race car with the same idea? Using the base 2005 Mustang GT body as the platform, Ford added as much aggression as they could to the car, with side dump exhaust pipes, flared out fenders with huge vents on them, a gigantic motorsport wing, and a much more aggressive front fascia, which actually is very similar to the one that would be fitted on that generation of Shelby GT500. This concept car was painted in a bright orange as an homage to the vintage Parnelli-Jones Trans Am race Mustangs. This wasn't just a design study, though. This was actually a fully built and functional prototype that was designed as a track rat, which meant a totally overhauled suspension setup with adjustable dampers, huge Brembo brakes, and more. Under the hood, the stock 2005 Mustang GT 3-valve single overhead cam V8 was nowhere in sight. What was there now was a 5-liter dual overhead cam Ford mod motor nicknamed the Cammer. This was essentially an overhauled version of the aluminum 4.6-liter dual overhead cam V8 from the New Edge Cobras, just now punched out to 5 liters with beefed-up internals, including ported heads, new cams, and more. The result was a 440 horsepower naturally aspirated mill, which was perfect for the stripped-down Mustang GTR, and was backed up by a 6-speed manual with a 456 rear gear ratio. Now, the car never ultimately saw production, but many would call it the spiritual predecessor to the modern Mustang GTD. Number 2, the Ford Mustang 1. Now, before the Mustang became the runaway success that it was, Ford was toying with the idea of bringing the Mustang name to market as something totally different. This is the Mustang 1. It was initially positioned as a lightweight sports car built to compete with the likes of the MGA and Sunbeam Alpine, as these lightweight British roadsters were really starting to catch on stateside. Subtly, it was also built to take sales away from the Corvette by offering a cheaper and lighter American-made sports car. Unveiled in 1962, the Mustang 1 concept absolutely stunned. It looked unlike anything else on the road. And compared to the 62 Corvette, for example, the Mustang showed an exciting new chapter for American sports cars. It was low-slung and maintained a spaceship-like appearance. Now, powering this Mustang concept was a bit of an unorthodox engine choice, though. It was a 2-liter V4 engine that made right around 110 horsepower. This engine was initially built for a Ford economy car prototype called the Cardinal, but its high power for its relative small size made it an easy choice for this new Mustang that was to be mounted behind the driver in a mid-engine configuration. Weighing in at an impressively light 1,600 pounds or so, the Ford Mustang 1 concept offered great performance in a platform that would have appealed to a lot of people. But Ford determined that the cost to bring this aluminum-bodied car to market would just be way too much to make it profitable. And as a result, only 2 were made. And by 1965, a very different Mustang took the world by storm. Number 3, the Mustang Mach 2. Yep, what you're looking at is yet another mid-engined Mustang. except the one you see here was created a few years after the first one. And to be honest, this one is way cooler. The Ford Mustang Mach-2 concept was an ambitious attempt to create a mid-engine sports car that could take on the Corvette, plus a potential mid-engine Corvette and other high-performance rivals in the 60s. Because you have to remember, in the mid to late 1960s, the mid-engined platforms started to get some widespread notoriety because of cars like the Miura. Initially conceived in 1966 by Ford's Advanced Concepts Department, the Mach-2 was designed as a standalone sports car, not necessarily a mid-engined Mustang, even though it was built on the Mustang platform. Ford worked with CarCraft, an outside performance shop who had a very close relationship with Ford for working on the prior GT40, and they used them to engineer two working prototypes of this new car, a red road-going version for media tests and a white race-prepped variant for track testing. Powered by a 289 Hypo V8 engine and boasting a lightweight fiberglass body, the Mach-2 looked promising both in performance and design. And the 271 horsepower 289 Hypo was an amazing engine to fit in this lightweight car. The project was overseen by Roy Lund, Ford's GT40 mastermind, who envisioned the Mach-2 as a high-quality sports car that could potentially compete in the SCCA Class A production class and the FIA GT category. With its sleek, low-slung profile and mid-engine layout, the Mach-2 prototypes generated significant interest. However, technical challenges, particularly surrounding the car's transaxle, continually delayed the program. Although the Mach-2 showed promise on the test track, with one prototype undergoing rigorous performance evaluations, the concept never made it to production. Instead, Ford shifted its focus to the De Tomaso Pantera, a vehicle that was easier to produce and already equipped with the necessary engineering to fill the same market slot. But man oh man, could you imagine if they actually brought this car into production? Number 4, the Mustang Milano. Not to be confused with the cookie that comes in the white bag, this concept Mustang was just as sweet though. The Milano was unveiled in 1970 as a future case study for what the fastback Mustang could look like. And it actually created lots of design cues that would be pulled for the 1971 Mustang fastback, like its super gradual fastback roofline that on the Milano was just 67 degrees. This car ditched the tri-bar taillights and went for a much more different vertical line setup that seamlessly integrated into the rear fascia with the exhaust. The front end of the Milano was very much 1969 Dodge Charger inspired, while the front fender NACA ducts were clearly pulled from a 69 GT500. The whole car really looked like an amalgamation of the American muscle car greatest hits from the year prior. And I gotta say, I do prefer this car's looks to the 1971 Mustang that we got instead. Funny enough though, the design of this car also inspired the Australian Falcon XP Coupe. You know, the Mad Max car. Only one prototype Mustang Milano was built, and it was done so in a purple-on-purple color combo. I couldn't find any drivetrain specs on the car in my research, which leads me to believe that this was just a non-running concept, only meant for show. But damn did it look cool. Number 5, the Mustang RSX. The Fox Body Mustang was a wildly different looking car than the older brothers that it shared its name with. It was very European and traded lots of that muscular square bravado of the prior cars for a more tame sports car look. The Fox Body was a bit controversial when it first came out, sure, but it was selling well. Ford now turned to their newly acquired Italian design house Ghia to see what they could make out of the new Fox Body platform. And what Ghia drew up was something way different. Sitting on a modified version of the Fox Body chassis that was 6 inches shorter and about an inch wider, Ghia called their creation the Mustang RSX. They kept the overall design similar enough to where if you squinted hard enough, you could tell it was a Fox Body. But they reworked pretty much every panel. The front end got much smoother and had a more angular design that led into the revised cabin, which now featured massive side plexiglass windows. The back seats were removed and the rear end was given a new sloped design to it as well, with a single light bar that went across the whole rear of the car. Now, I must admit, visually, I actually like the way the RSX looks. Just not as a Mustang, though. Maybe as a weird 80s Celica or something, but this car just doesn't scream Mustang to me. And it didn't to Ford either, who decided to never move ahead with the project past just the singular design study vehicle. Number 6, the Mustang Mach-3. And last, but certainly not least, we have the bombastically 90s Mustang Mach-3 concept. Unveiled in 1993, this was also the last year that the Fox-body Mustang would be produced, before it switched to the more rounded-off 1994 SN95 style car. Ford obviously already had the SN95 design in mind by the time they made this, so it's no surprise that the Mach-3 does share some major similarities for what became the next generation of Mustang. Quite a lot of similarities, in fact. Starting with the interior, the double hump dashboard and door panels were very similar to what came on the production SN95s. And the hood of the concept car had a very similar design and vent layout to what was later used on the 96 to 98 Mustang Cobras with the 4.6-liter dual overhead cam mod motor. And speaking of that motor, that's where this concept gets really interesting. If you're a Mustang buff, then you probably know that in 94 and 95, the V8 available in the SN95 was the 5-liter pushrod V8 from the Fox body. The 4.6-liter single overhead cam and dual overhead cam motors did not make it into the Mustang until 96. Well, the Mach-3 concept, which came out in 1993, was powered by an Eaton supercharged 4.6-liter dual overhead cam mod motor with a T56 6-speed manual behind it. Coincidentally, the exact same drivetrain that found its way into the Terminator Cobra some 10 years later in 2003. And funny enough, the low-slung Mustang Mach-3 actually looks spiritually very similar to the Mustang 1 concept from earlier in the video, even though this car was front-engined, unlike the other one, which was mid-engined. And I'd like to believe that the similarity in proportions of these two cars were not a coincidence, but rather Ford going back to their roots. 2 of these Mustang Mach-3 concepts were produced to help drum up hype for the SN95 Mustang. But tragically, one of those was destroyed in a transport fire, meaning just one real concept remains. But those were the 6 insane concept Mustangs that we never ended up getting. Let me know in the comments down below which one of them is your favorite. For me, it's definitely the Milano, but the Mustang Mach-2 would be a close second. And as always, thank you all for watching another video. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. But otherwise, until next time, enthusiasts.